And we're live. Welcome everybody. You are on the Come Cook With Me show, and my name is Laura Hall. Welcome to my kitchen. So today's meal is an incredible sauce that I create. It's a vegetarian pasta sauce, and it's just an incredible depth of flavor that you're just going to absolutely love. Now, some of you who have been following me for a long time, because I think I did this in 2017 in June, maybe it was even earlier than June. But we did this show, and it was when we were didn't quite have the camera setup that we have, and it was not on a vertical. It was a hot mess. We had a lot of viewership that time. We had 45,000 people view that show, but it was way too long. And I just felt, well, this is a perfect month to kind of repeat some of these wonderful holiday dishes that, in our family, we had sauce all of the time. So, and some of you may call it gravy. And I've made it a variety of different ways. So today's way that we're going to make it is just really going to be a home-based vegetarian sauce. So if you're cooking with me, you know that we are cooking in the Instapot, we're cooking in the MEALTHY pot, and we're cooking in the slow cooker CrockPot. So you get a chance to see this recipe in all different ways, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you're new to the show, please say hello, who you are, where you're from. That's part of our community. We just love to support one another, and over time, we've all kind of gotten to know one another. So welcome to the community if you're brand new. We really love having you here. And if you're cooking with me and you've been following me for a while, we want to get started cooking right away. So you're going to hit that saute feature on your pot, whatever pot you're using. We just have the MEALTHY pot saute, and we're going to get that one started. And let me hit saute here, and that one's going to get started. So while they're heating up, I'll share with you, on this slow cooker, this is an all-clad slow cooker, so it's not the traditional old-style crock pot. I'm going to go ahead and put some robust extra virgin olive oil. I use the robust for this. Normally I'll use an avocado oil because it's just a little bit better, healthier version of, it's my favorite oil to cook with, but because we're doing an Italian-style meal, we're going to go ahead and go with the robust. So what I have here is, I'm very selective in how I pick certain ingredients, and we'll talk about them as we go along. But I picked this one because it's a non-GMO. So you'll always find symbols that have non-GMO. GMOs are genetically modified organisms, so this is non-GMO. We really want to stick to non-GMO and organic whenever possible. What I love about this is not only that it's organic, but it's also cold pressed. So that means that there's going to be a lot less acidity. And when we get to the end of the show and I give the tip of the day, you're going to really learn a little bit about acid. That's just my tip. Okay, so we're going to coat the bottom of the pot. If you are following along and cooking with me, go ahead and give it a nice liberal coat at the bottom. Now, I used this olive oil when I did the garlic, when I roasted the garlic. So if you saved, and I have actually over here, there's not quite enough, but I don't ever get rid of this incredible leftover olive oil. It smells heavenly. This is what was roasted, the garlic that I made that's chopped up that's going into this recipe. This is the leftover oil. You can use it for so many wonderful things, so never get rid of it. I'm just going to set it to the side. All right, so the pots are heating up. What we want to do is get started with putting in our onions and our peppers. So in this bowl, I have all organic. So there's 2 sweet onions in the bottom. I have one full red pepper, and I have full, they were little baby peppers. So there's a couple of little baby peppers that are orange and yellow. So when I decide on picking the produce, what I do is on Wednesday, we always do a come shop with me. And this happened to be what was available as far as organics were concerned. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in so they can start to saute. And I'll go ahead and do the same for the other pot. And I love every time we get a chance, we want to use this organic whenever possible. non-GMO, really great. If you know your farmer, even better. I have these kind of at a far distance. I was trying a different range, but I think next time it's so far that I'm a little too short here. I just tried to do the camera angle a little bit different just to play around with that. Okay, so we're going to want to have these sauteed for just a little bit while they're going. So what I thought I would do is share with you on this particular slow cooker. I would take it out and show you what it looks like because it's really, it has been cooking for so long. It's fantastic. In the slow cooker, it has been cooking fast. I did a fast. Hold on a second. I did a very fast. When I did the saute, I did a really fast saute of all of the ingredients, not all of the vegetable ingredients, and that really helped out a great deal. So then I kept it on high afterwards, and I'm just going to show you how beautiful. This has got about 2 more hours and it'll be completely done. But it looks just beautiful. So that's what I love about this all-clad, because you can really, it has that browning saute feature. So just, I'll stir this now and then show it to you. It's just absolutely, it smells heavenly in this house. I wish that you could actually smell what the house smells like. So there you go. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's got a couple more hours yet. We're gonna, oh, these are getting nice and sauteed. I'm gonna give them a stir. So I would love to know, any of you, go ahead and give me some love and share with me what your favorite, what do you call it, pasta sauce? Do you call it gravy? What are some of your moms or your grandmother's favorite ways that they've made sauce? I know I cooked this summer with a group of people at our in-state to create, and we had a big conversation about all kinds of Italian everything. So I learned quite a bit, and we'll go, that's another conversation. So the next thing I'm going to add in is I've got, in here I have some yellow squash on the bottom, and I have some diced zucchini, and I actually have 2 types of mushrooms. I like to use the baby portobello, and I have just some regular chopped mushrooms. So everything in here, with the exception I didn't find any organic mushrooms. In St. Augustine, I could go to the farmer's market. I'm not going to add all of them in. This pot is a little bit bigger, so I know this one won't receive all of them, but this is good. This is a good amount. Probably put in the rest in just a minute. Now that I've added the vegetables, what's really important is to add in the garlic, so they can absorb some of the garlic flavor. So what I love to do is I love to put the garlic in the oven and get it roasted. So it's not really a hot garlic. It ends up having such a really beautiful, just an in-depth flavor. It's just delicious. And I've gone ahead and chopped that up. Now this, underneath that are some roasted red peppers as well. So just a couple of those. And I didn't have the jar out from that, so I should probably do that. At the end of the show, maybe I'll take that. Okay, let's go ahead and add in this other wonderful medley of vegetables into this one. I'll add in the rest of these over here. We'll add in this garlic as well, and the few roasted peppers that are in there, and we'll give it a stir. I was trying to get the pot so that they were closer for you to see inside of, which is really awesome. Oh, that's looking so great. So these are going to cook down just a smidgen. They don't really in the fast pots and the pressure cookers. You don't really have to get them cooked down like you would want to in the slow cooker, and that's really the biggest difference. But we just want to get these hot enough to kind of get the onions and the initial pepper sauteed a little bit. And they are actually opaque. The onions are already opaque, so I can turn that feature off, which I'm going to do. Hit the cancel. You just check these and make sure that the onions here are opaque as well. Perfect. I'm sure with the camera being close enough, you can hear it really cooking. It's pretty hot in there. All right, so the next thing that we're going to add in is we're going to add in our wine. So this isn't optional if you don't like adding in wine for your cooking. I use the wine, again, to add a depth of flavor, but I also use it, I used to use sweetener when I would make the sauce, or carrots, and then you would have to have that sauce really cooked down quite a bit to get the sweetness from the carrot. My husband really doesn't like having the carrots in the sauce, and then the kids came clean one time and they said, "Yeah, Mom, we're really not a fan of having the carrots in the sauce." And so I was like, okay. So I experimented last year, and I found doing the complex wine, it just really, that's all you needed. You didn't need to have any other sweetener, and it just added more complexity to the flavor of the sauce. So we're going to add in, I just picked out something that was on sale, but I knew would have some really good smoke and deep flavors to it. So I just picked out a nice cab. You could do a Chianti, you know, something that's your favorite, and it's going to be a cup and a half. Although I'm not sure I have a full cup and a half for each one, so I may just do a cup. Yep, I knew that would be the case. I need to we'll see what happens at the end. I may need to open up just another bottle to have a half a cup longer, but we'll just see how that looks in just a minute. All right, so the next thing we're going to want to do is add a 1/4 cup of our balsamic vinegar. And I like the aged balsamic vinegar, and I really look for one that has no added ingredients and no caramel. So it's all caramel free, it's organic, it's non-GMO, and so those are the things that I look for when I buy my balsamic vinegar. So you're going to do a 1/4 cup. Oh gosh, it smells so good. I love balsamic vinegar. And I know this new, that's a lot of people, when I made this the last time and I had the balsamic vinegar, people were like, I've never done that before. So yeah, it just adds a complexity to the recipe. Just so yummy. And Susan, I know if you're watching, you're going to say, you've changed that recipe so much, and I have changed the recipe so much. Oh, that's just incredible. Beautiful. Okay, it's time to add our tomato products. So, what I have here, we're going to go ahead and do the peeled tomatoes first. And what I've done is I've taken the cooking shear, because these are really big plum tomatoes in this can. So I've taken the cooking shear and I've gone inside and I've cut them up so that they're not totally just big round tomatoes, because in here they're not going to be stirred a lot. So you want to have, and so I missed a few, so I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to take these shears and just cut them up into 3 pieces. You just want to have them diced up enough because they're not going to be stirred like a normal sauce would be. So you want to make sure that they separate and get those juices out. Excuse me. Some good sauce in there. Okay. And that one, I think there's just a couple that I didn't get. Perfect. All right. So let's talk about these particular products. Again, what we strive to teach people on this particular show, and what I do with my clients, because being a health coach, one of the things they really strive for is when you're out shopping, is you want to buy organic food. You want to buy food that's not genetically modified. All of those things that if you buy things that are genetically modified, if you buy things that are not organic, you end up putting more toxins in your body. And what we strive to do is teach people how to get toxins out of their body. So we really don't want to have additional toxins being brought into our body. So what I look for in canned goods, or any of the things that I'm cooking with, is organic, proven, it has a seal on it that it's organic, and it's non-GMO. Now this one, because this was a different can than I'm normally used to, I usually work with Mirror Glen because I can read the label really easily. This one was a really hard one to find the non-GMO label, so I'm going to show it to you. And there's something else that I look for in labels. So right there it says non-GMO. Then right next to it says PBA-free can lining. So manufacturers of canned goods typically will put it's bisphenol A. It's a liner that they'll put in a can to make the shelf life of a product like forever. And so can you just imagine that PBA lining leaching into the food and again becoming an endocrine disruptor for our bodies? It's more toxins in our body. So you really want to pay attention to those things that you're purchasing, and not get anything that is lined with bisphenol A or PBA. All right, so the next canned good is a diced, oh no, this is the crushed tomato. So we're doing a crushed tomato first. And then we'll see how much of the dice will fit in. Oh, I thought I hit cancel. Cancel. It was still cooking. So we're doing a crushed tomato. And again, Mirror Glen is very easy to read. USDA, non-GMO. And then over here, their symbol, they make it really a big square. So it's really easy to find. No PBA lining. Beautiful. Yeah, we probably don't even need that extra half a cup of wine. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and add this one in. I might decide to add in the rest of the vegetables since I did use a bigger Instant Pot on this side. Now I do know that MEALTHY, if you have the MEALTHY or you like the MEALTHY product, this holiday season they're coming out with the larger size. So that'll be fantastic. Just going to give that a stir so I can see what it looks like. I'd love to see the color that when I see, I go by color more than anything because I've cooked this for years and years and years. I created this recipe, oh goodness, before the children were born. So it's probably been a recipe I've made since maybe 30 years. I think I started when Brad and I first got married, and this is our 32nd year of marriage. So yeah, I made this recipe a long time ago. Okay, that's looking so good and it smells so wonderful. So the next thing we're going to add in is our diced tomatoes. Now, when I was at the store, they didn't have the same variety. So they had some roasted diced tomatoes, so I'm fire roasted, since we're going to taste and make sure which, decide who wins, because everyone's getting the same ingredient. I'm going to add a little bit of each of this can there, since that's the only one I have. And then they also had just the regular no salt Mirror Glen. Now they're starting to change their design of their can. So I'm hoping that, there we go. I'm hoping that we'll be able to find all of the ones that we had been shopping with before, since they changed the brand. It was very confusing at Publix this week. They didn't even have this one in the register to be able to check out, so they didn't know what to charge me. And it's just because they changed the packaging. And I guess the label changed then too, the UPS code. That makes sense, right? Oh, this is just beautiful. Okay, so I can actually add in an extra can of diced tomatoes there, which I'm going to do. And I still have room to add in a few more vegetables, take advantage of what's been cut up, which will be great. Okay, now we have some fresh herbs that they had at the store. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in as well. So we have oregano and we have basil. So have the oregano so you can see what it looks like on the vine. But I've already gone ahead and peeled back the oregano in here. And then the fresh leaves, I'm just going to plop that all in. But I thought I would show you how to take the oregano instead of having to peel off each piece. I thought I'd show you how to do it really quickly. If you take the stem and reversed going down, you grab all the bunches that way, and then you have the stem left over. So it's just so easy to do. Again, that was just a trick someone taught me, gosh, so many years ago, I can't even tell you. I've been doing that for so long, I don't even remember where I learned it from. So, just pull them down, and then you don't get any of the stem. You don't want to have the stem in your food. Okay, one of the last things that we're going to add before we finish up with the spices is our tomato paste. So typically, I will have 2 cans. With a bigger Instant Pot, I might do 2.5, but I think we'll just go with 2. So these are the small 6-ounce cans. So this is the tomato paste, and what I'm going to do is show you a trick. This is something that, again, one of those things that I learned years ago. So the top has already been taken off, and what I'm going to do is get this set so it doesn't fall in, and I'm just going to turn and open the can on the opposite end. Raise your hand if you remember me doing this before. And if you've never seen it before, you can certainly comment on that. So what's going to happen is the pressure is releasing from the bottom of the can, and there's no more digging out. Just watch it come out of the can. So easy. I mean, there's no waste. You get all of the paste out. I don't know how many people drive themselves batty when they're trying to get all of the tomato paste out. But guess what? You don't have to worry about it. It's so easy. You just let go, let it release just like that. So easy. The one thing I did realize is that you have to really hold tight onto this with this can opener so you don't lose it and it go pop into the sauce. And trust me, I've had that happen before. Not a big deal. You can always get it out. Okay, so we got 2 cans in there. I'll add 2 cans in the other pot. And we're nearly done with this recipe. That's how simple this is. Okay. I love how simple it is to get the that was hysterical for me. Okay, one final can. And we are at the fill line. I may need to take a scoop or 2 out of this particular one before we actually cook it. I will do that. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me just get that stirred in a little bit. Yes, just beautiful. Okay, all right, now it's time for the spices. So we have just a few spices that I actually love to use for this particular recipe. One of the things that you're probably saying is right now, because I forgot to say it in the very beginning of the show, is where is the recipe? Well, when this video ends, I will share it. It'll automatically share to Facebook, and then once I get a chance to turn the camera off, I'll go to the computer. I've already got the recipe. It's already been written out, so you'll have the complete instructions for both the slow cooker, for the CrockPot slow cooker version, and then for the fast pressure cookers. So either way, you'll have a recipe. So let's go ahead and add the spices. Now, you're going to see me use a little bit more spice of our particular favorite spices, and I'll tell you why. That's just what we love. So cumin is one of my favorite recipes in this particular recipe. So in the recipe itself, it says 1.5 teaspoons of all of these spices. But you should play with the spice arrangement for your family. So you'll know whether you like to have things like softer, not as bold or robust, or maybe you like to have things more bold and robust like us. So cumin is one of those things that we just love, and I love to cook with. So I'm using a lot more than what that recipe is designed up above. But what I try to do is create a recipe that everyone can follow, and then you know you can add more and less of the particular spices that are your family's favorites. So I'm using about 1/2 of a jar in each one. This one's going to get just a smidgen more because it's a little bit bigger. Okay, that's a lot of cumin, so it's okay though. We know, our family knows what it's perfectly great. So the next thing that we're going to use is an organic Italian seasoning. And that we just use the McCormick because it has certified non-GMO, and that's really an important thing. All right, so we'll add in that. We have some oregano. Now, because we have the fresh oregano, we don't have to use as much oregano as we would if we didn't have it. But we had such great, beautiful, fresh oregano. It was great. Okay, and then I also like to show this particular herb. If you don't have the Italian seasoning, the herb de Provence, I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but this particular one is really it's awesome. It's very similar to the Italian. Just add a smidge in there. All right, now we have crushed red peppers. And then I also have some chipotle ground crushed peppers. So these are a little chipotle. And chipotle, you know, this is not really an Italian thing. And I think people who are true Italians would say, no, yeah, it's not right. But I'm not true Italian. I never have claimed to be. But what I like, what that chipotle pepper does, it just gives it a little bit of a smoky flavor. And so you get a little sweet, you get a little smoky, and it just, these layers of flavors just build on top of each other. So it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful. And this looks so fantastic, and it's so ready to go. I didn't think we need to add anything else in. I did have the 7 spice, but because I did the, well, I think I will add the 7 spice. So I'll go ahead. It's the Japanese 7 spice. I'm just going to add a little bit. And honestly, the reason why I'm going to add it is because it has a little bit of an orange and lemon peel in the spice. And if I just had some orange and lemon peel, I would have added that in. So I'm just going to add just a smidgen of that in. Okay. And the Japanese 7 spice, this is just one of those favorite ones for me to cook with. And then the final one that I always like to talk about is a teammate of ours on our health team, and that's Dan Oliver. And he has designed these incredible spices. So remember when I said, if you said hello, who you are and where you're from, well, you get entered to win in the random generator for all the comments that get made. You just get entered to win a small set of the Dano spices. So I actually have that winner over there. And so Dano, and I didn't have the red one sitting out, but this is more of a savory, and there's one of a spice. But since we already got the spices in there, I'm just going to use a little bit of his savory spices. But these are really fantastic to cook with. Again, they follow the same principles: no GMO, no salt, no MSG. That's the other thing we didn't talk about. No MSG in any of the things that you buy. Look for that, monosodium glutamate. You do not want MSG in anything. It's just not one of those things that's friendly for our bodies. So, okay, that's it. That's the recipe. It's so simple. So a lot of you are saying, okay, well, what if I wanted to add meat? Well, you could always brown some meat brown it ahead of time, take off the juices, and put the meat in this sauce. It works beautifully. I decided to make this totally vegetarian, totally vegan. I have so many people who follow me for various recipes, and vegan and vegetarian is one of them. So I really wanted to keep it really consistent. The other thing is that this sauce freezes so well. So when you make the sauce and you have a whole bunch that's left over, it's your starter sauce. It's your starter sauce. Let's say perhaps you're going to make a lasagna over the holiday. So you just pull out a container and voila, you have your sauce for your lasagna. Or maybe you just want to make some meatballs, which we're going to do next week. We're going to make the savory, melt in your mouth meatballs. And so you just have the starter, you have this already done, you don't have to worry about making a sauce. It's done, it's ready, all you have to do is make your meatballs. So that's why I like keeping it all vegetarian, and then that way you have something to pull from for the whole holiday season. And if you do make a great big batch, then you have just a whole bunch to pull from. Now we haven't made this in a long time, so I know my husband is really excited about having this tonight. So I think he picked up a few meatballs because he's like, "You're not making the meatballs this week?" And I said, "No, we're just going to get this one done and we'll do the meatballs next week. We'll save that for next week." All right, so let's talk about how you're going to serve it. You can make I love making a spaghetti squash, putting those in the oven. And we actually have a spaghetti squash video that's in the recipes, in the catalog of recipes. So you can either use your hashtag mark spaghetti squash, looking for a post by me, or just head over to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Lifestyle by Laura J, and you'll find all of the recipes that we've ever done. And so you can make a spaghetti squash, you can make zoodles, or you can make regular pasta noodles, your favorite pasta noodle. But what I'm going to do is show you the 3 cheeses, and these are good cheeses to have for next week, so I'll just go ahead and tell you about them. I do an aged Asiago, I do a regular Parmesan, and then I do Porcino Romano cheese. So there's going to be 3 different cheeses that I'll just grate up. And I love to grate the cheese, then you know that there's no additional fillers in any of the cheese, because there are fillers in some of those pre-shredded cheeses. You really have to look at those labels. And in some of them, it's the ones that I used to serve my kids years ago when I didn't know any of this. I cringe at what I gave you guys. So, but anyway, we'll have these 3 cheeses available for putting on the top of serving tonight. All right. So we always do a tip of the day, and we have a special feature, which is the MEALTHY Multipot. So MEALTHY Multipot has connected with me, and they have given our community a great opportunity. So I've been always giving away before MEALTHY came along, I always gave away an Instapot. Well, it got a little pricey, right? So instead of doing that, MEALTHY said, well, why don't you try our pot, and we'll give you a nice discount every time you give one away. So that's why we have the MEALTHY pot giveaway. And when you say hello, who you are, where you're from, and you hit that share button, that square button that says share on Facebook, and you share it to your wall, you get entered to win next week's MEALTHY pot. So I have the names of those people who are over there, and let's go ahead and bring them over. So we'll pick those. But for the spices that I talked about, the person who won the random generator for the Dano spices, it was her first time watching. I do remember that. So it's Carmen Martinez. So Carmen, I'm going to send you a message so I can get your address and send you the spices. And these are the names who are entered to win the MEALTHY pot. So I'm just going to put this over here. Oh, I forgot to tell you how long we're going to cook this, so I'll tell you that in a second. Let's see who won the MEALTHY pot. Good luck, everybody. Okay, I'm digging in, get them all mixed up. Okay, I've got a winner. All right, let's see who won. Oh my gosh, okay, this gal, you've been watching for so long, and you've been such a great trooper, and you always cheer everybody on when they win. I just love this. Trudy Stein. You won the Mealthy Pot. Congratulations. Now, I know, this is so exciting. I'll put that over there. So you need to send me your address so I can get that shipped off to you. So when you're ready to cover these, I'm sorry for doing that delay. Cover these up. You're going to put it on, set it on manual for 30 minutes. And you can slow release for 10 minutes. And lock it in place. You want to make sure when you put your lid on, you'll lock it in place. Make sure that it's in that closed position. And same thing here with the Mealthy Pot. Make sure the dial is turned so that it doesn't release. Now that shows venting, so this has been put on incorrectly. There we go. There we go. It's in the off position. So last time it was cooked, or it was washed, that we take the top off, and so the top just got on incorrectly. So that's ready to go. So what you're going to do is you'll set it for manual for 30 minutes, slow release for 10, and then release the rest of the steam, and you're ready to go. So I've got a pot over here for the water, because Mr. Hall has asked for having regular noodles. So we're going to do regular noodles today. All right, so we're going to talk about the healthy tip of the day. At the end of every show, we always go through a healthy tip. And last week, we talked about drinking water and how essential water is. Well, part of the drinking the water is also about getting your water tested. So here, when I moved to this community here in Daphne, I noticed immediately that our water has such a high content of chlorine, and it probably has a host of other things. But the chlorine, I could smell it. It was just that incredible intense. So that's not great. That creates acidic in your body. So one of the tips I thought about is like, well, since we talked about water, let's talk about getting your water tested and really getting somebody who's going to be great at coming in and testing your water. So I have a gal who lives here locally. So those of you who are local to Daphne, I'm going to actually ask her to come to a show at the end of the show and really talk about a system that, the alkalinity system that she can provide. But there's all kinds of alkalinity systems out there. But peak alkalinity, and it's Missy Gutierrez, so she's going to come on the show, but she's simpatico with me. I met her through my Business Network International team, and she's really spot on with how she coaches and what she does for her clients and customers, and then what I do for my clients and customers. So getting your water tested, and if you find out that your pH is less than 7.0, you need to do 7.2, because right at 7.0 to 7.2 is that threshold of alkalinity and acidic balance. So if your body is in an acidic state, that's where disease, that's where cancer, all of those things that thrive in our body, the negative side of health. So what you want to do is, and that's what I coach people, is to get people to get to the higher end of a high alkalinity. So, I mean, just to give you a frame of reference, Dr. Otto Warburg, he won the Nobel Prize in 1931. But he proved, how he won the Nobel Prize is he proved that cancer cannot exist in an alkaline, oxygen-rich state. But what he did also prove is that cancer survives and thrives in a low oxygen state and an acidic state. So you think about that. How is that happening in your body? And what are the things that you are doing to make sure that you stay in an alkaline state? So the tip this week is let's get our water tested. And we're going to explore a little bit more about pH balance and getting our body aligned. And so I'll share a couple of things actually in the comments. So look for the pictures, the images of dinner tonight, and some of the healthy tips of the day. All right, everybody, that's the end of the show. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. I hope that you've decided to get rid of all of that extra candy and parceling it out for those kiddos. I know I have a ton that I need to get rid of because this community, I wasn't quite sure how much to buy, and I don't know if you're like me, gosh, we have so much left over, and I won't touch it. That's just not for me. But, I don't need to have it sitting around because somebody will touch it. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of it. So get rid of your candy or parcel it out with the kids, and hopefully we'll get through all this sugar phase at the end of this week. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thanks so much for joining the show. I am so thankful for everybody who comes in faithfully and shares the show and says hello, who you are, where you're from. It's just such a blessing. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next week with our meatball, savory, melt in your mouth meatball recipe. All right, have a great weekend.